Welcome to Access a Trader, the #1 community for high-level traders to learn valuable trends and strategies, connect with other top traders, and become consistently profitable. Click the link in the description of this video to receive a special offer on our revolutionary PS60 training, access to our daily interactive webinar filled with experienced traders, and so much more. Space is limited, so make sure you don't miss out.
So let's get into today's session and see exactly what we had. So morning strategy, guys. Again, this is where we always talk about get to morning strategy early. We talk about all the pivots in there. Again, it's very, very tough to talk about a pivot at the close because we don't know where the futures are going to open up and we don't know what channels are going to be challenged. So here is the pivot right here. Here is the pivot right here, 983. We talked about this pre-market. Again, my whole synopsis of what's going on is, I want to see these beta stocks live with prosperity. Okay, futures are up today, and as soon as the bell rang, weakness hit again the tape. We talked about the 983 pivot possibly going down to the 979 area. That's exactly what happened. This was my first trade of the day, and I covered my last runner almost up 4, a little less than up, almost a little less than up 4 points. So that was good. Also, congratulations to Roberto. Roberto actually took the dip on Google and bought the bottom of this channel, actually made 3 points on the upside. So good job there. So it started out aggressive, right? It started out aggressive. I was like, all right, this is great. I think everything's going to turn around. I'm watching Tesla. I think if it gets below that 336, I think it goes to 333. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. We didn't go for a while, right? We didn't go for a while. It took a lot of time for these pivots to develop. There was a lot of stop starts, and a lot of the stocks they were flirting with the top of the range, then came back in, so you couldn't buy them. They were flirting with the bottom of the range of cracking, just because right before they did, they could rally back, so you couldn't get that really good feel. But I was excited, right? I was excited. I started the day. I was starting the day the way it was supposed to start, aggressive, channel to channel, demand to demand, so everything was good. And then it kind of slowed down here. And when we started putting on other trades, trade by trade, you could see, again, the lack of conviction both ways. And let's talk about this. So the second trade of the day was Amazon, right? So here was the pivot on Amazon, right? So the opening range high was right here, okay? Opening range high was right here, was this 975. Now, the first candle goes and it confirms, and it goes to about 978 and change, okay? Now, what I thought was going to happen was, okay, nice move. You got a $3 move on there. Again, if you took profits, great. If you didn't take profits, great. Whatever the case may be. So it started off good. I figured, look, 2 days before earnings, they're going to at least challenge the top of this channel, right? This top of this channel, which is 981. And it just sat there and sat there and sat there and sat there. And then this future started, a lot of these names started getting weaker. And next thing I knew, we looked, my partner and I talked to each other and we're like, look, this thing is just not giving an aggressive move. It's just every single time it comes up for air with the futures, you're getting all these sellers coming out of nowhere. And again, if the futures pull at any given point, you're not going to lose money on the trade. You're going to lose a lot of money on the trade because you're just not letting it go. And if you look for the next 5 candles for the rest of the day, again, it's only 6.5 candles for the whole day. If you look for the rest of the 5 candles throughout the day, the stock literally closed where it broke out on the opening range. Again, is it bullish? Is it bearish? Again, please don't talk to me what's going to happen after Amazon earnings. I love Amazon. I use Amazon. I use Amazon a lot, way too much. So yes, I believe in the product. I believe in the company. And yes, I do believe the stock's going to go to $2,000 a share. For the point of trading for cash flow from getting to point A to point B, it was very, very concerning that it couldn't really get going despite the Dow being up 200 points. Okay, so we took like $1 and change move on it. Not the biggest trade in the world, obviously. But again, it was going in the right direction. The next move, congratulations guys who did take Alibaba. Here is the pivot right over here. The top of this channel was this 174.85 level. We talked about this 175 break. Once it broke, it did what it had to do. That was actually the smooth, for the exception of the Google trade, this was actually the smoothest move to the upside, put up almost $1 move. Actually, did put up $1 move to the next supply zone again before it faded. Now, again, if the market was strong, if there wasn't a buyer strike, why did the stock completely give everything back? And oh, by the way, it's now on our watch list for tomorrow on a 173 breakdown. Okay, it is what it is. That's what it is. It was challenging yesterday's low. So again, concerning, but yet the pivot was there. And again, congrats to all you guys who did take the trade there. Netflix, there was actually one really good pivot on Netflix, and it was right over here. Right over here. So here is the pivot on Netflix, 193.10. It confirmed above the 93.25. For all you guys who did take it, good job there. IONS, nice call by Tamim. Nice pivot. Again, this is where we talk about confirmations on sneaky candles. Here was your first reversal candle. This candle confirmed this one, 56.60. Stock went about $1 higher. Great job. Nice call, Tamim. The weirdest trade of the day, or the weirdest setup of the day, and I did not take this trade because there was absolutely no liquidity. So I talked about the setup here on Tesla, right? And the setup was, well, if it loses this 338 level, it should go lower, right? It should go lower, it should go lower, it should go lower. Here was the problem, okay? If you guys remember yesterday, we were short Tesla yesterday, and by the way, we were up close to about 5.5 points on our runner. We wound up only taking about 2 and change on it because, again, the stock did get strong in the middle of the day, and I just didn't feel like getting run over. Okay, that's over. So we've been pretty much short Tesla for the last 2-3 weeks predominantly. Yes, we had some long setups as well for sneaky candles. But again, you could clearly see that the bias right now is to the downside. At least you can see it. Again, I'm not talking about specifically the company, their developments, their backlogs, blah, blah. Who cares? We're talking about strictly from the trading aspect. Again, I'm not a bull, I'm not a bear. I just love trading the stock, and it gives you tremendous opportunity on both sides. So if you notice what happened yesterday after 3 o'clock, right? After 3 o'clock, once it broke that 342 trigger, the stock went down at $6. Okay, aggressive. Volume, offers. Today was different, okay? Today was completely different. So it pivoted below that 338 level, and it was literally trading 100 shares at a time. 100 shares at a time. It was literally sitting there, 100 share lots. Nothing, no liquidity, zero liquidity, okay? So I couldn't take the trade. There's nothing I could do to convince myself to take the trade. Again, how can you take a trade if there's 100 shares sitting there? Yes, on a whole number, there was 100 shares sitting there on the bid. What are you going to do? You're going to hit this thing for 100 shares? There's nothing, no liquidity there. And the stock just kind of danced around, 58, 58.20, 57.70. Like, it was absolutely the weirdest action I've seen in Tesla in months, especially after the 3 o'clock, where a lot of the aggressive moves come from. So I didn't take the trade, and it was kind of all over the place. It finally went down about $1, blah, 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 blah. But again, one of the things, I'm mentally at that point of my career, I have no preconceived notions of what the worst thing could happen. I know what the worst thing can happen in the trade. If you misread the order flow and there's a reload buyer there coming up, you're going to get hammered. You know, they're going to run the stock back. So I have no regrets for letting go of the trade because, again, first of all, how much would I have possibly gotten filled on my trade? And number two, there was no liquidity there. And number two, there was an absolutely zero aggression following the pivot. So I have zero problems letting go of the trade. And I say this all the time in the live webinar. If you're not comfortable with the setup, if you're not comfortable with the order flow, and by the way, there's absolutely no liquidity, how can you possibly warrant putting your money, your hard-earned money, on the middle of the table and putting on the trade? It's all about comfortability, right? And sometimes you have to put yourself in a position that you just have to walk away from a setup. Despite it working, despite all the data telling you not to put on the trade, and yet the stock works, all the cards, all the sun, the moon, and the stars have to align for the trade to work. There has to be liquidity, there has to be aggression, there has to be a pivot, confirmation, and if you only get 1 out of 3, you can't put on the trade, and that's exactly what happened. So kind of an odd day. I mean, kind of an odd day. We saw a lot of names, a lot of names I trade that's really come back in very, very strong into the close. So again, hopefully after earnings season, we'll get some more clarity on these names, so we'll see what happens. Thursday, big earnings day. You have Microsoft, Amazon, Twitter, Amazon and Google are the ones I'm really looking for. Amazon and Google, I want to see them kind of set the tone, which way they could possibly either pull up the beta or pull down the beta, but we'll definitely get a definitive sign of what happens next. So let's get into tomorrow's action. Okay, let's get into tomorrow's action and see exactly what we can find. So